Hey, it's Dr. Infinity. Welcome to White Pill Media, and I'm going to be discussing three documentaries this week. They are Montana Meth, Meth Storm, and Rich Hill. The first two documentaries deal with meth in rural areas, Montana, obviously, and Arkansas. And the last one isn't really about meth, it's kind of the odd one out. But Rich Hill's a documentary that focuses on Rich Hill, Missouri, which is this small town in Missouri. And we follow the lives of three teenage boys that live in poverty. And it's kind of odd and it doesn't exactly fit in with the other two, but I kind of wanted to talk about all three of them. Anyways, all three of these documentaries can be found online for free. Meth Storm and Montana Meth are both on YouTube. And there's this streaming service called Tubi TV, which it seems legit enough, but Rich Hill is on there, and that's also for free. Like, you don't have to register or make an account or anything, which I think that's cool. Not sponsored, but so you can watch all these for free, which I guess that's nice. You know, with it getting a bit colder now, I find myself carrying around my little space heater around my house. I plug it in when I'm at my computer. When I'm over watching TV, I bring it over, or my reading chair, or kind of just wherever. And if you think that's stupid, if you think I should turn the heat on, you probably work for the fucking gas company. So, we're just going to dive right in. They're documentaries, but I guess spoilers for documentaries. I do think these are all worth checking out. They are fairly different. Meth Storm and Montana Meth are obviously closer together, but I think they're all worth seeing if you're kind of interested about. I would just say it's one thing to like read in a book and like to know that obviously drug abuse is bad. Obviously drug abuse is going to fuck you up and ruin your life. But to actually see it, just have a like kind of fly on the wall, follow these people around and see just how like bad their lives are, I do find it interesting. And so I'm just going to dive right in first with Montana Meth. Montana Meth is about an hour long. It was made in 2007, and we cover a lot of different people. The other two documentaries are more focused, and this covers a lot of different people. So I'm just going to kind of cover them piece by piece, if that makes sense. Like, since we jump around a lot, I'm not going to go like chronologically like it. Just that I'm going to focus on like the kids we start out with. So we start out with Graham and Crystal, and they're in this car and they're shooting up meth. Graham is 16 years old and Crystal is 22, right? And Graham has started meth, I think, fairly recently, and Crystal's been doing it for a few years now. It's just like, it's like kind of like pretty fucking scary that these kids are like that young, and they're already like addicted to this shit, and you just know how badly it's gonna fuck them up and how much it's gonna like ruin their lives.
Holy fucking A. Yeah.
It's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, it's like the biggest head rush in the world. Like, you can't hear for a little bit. Can't breathe.
Can't see.
Can't see. People don't understand how we could get addicted to this, but I feel so good right now, better than any sober person has ever felt their whole entire life. That's what they don't know.
I don't know too much about like meth or like drug addiction or that. I didn't really grow up around that or really know people like that. The closest I've gotten is I had this summer job working in a park as a seasonal laborer. It was a nice job. It was just really quiet and beautiful working there. But there's this guy who also worked there with me because I did for like 2 summers. Like, you could kind of tell by looking at him just like with his mouth and his teeth that he had done meth right in the past. And he, I didn't want to like pry or like talk about it, but like he would bring it up every now and then. It just seems like because he was only like a year older than me, and I was like 22 or something around there, right? And he's like a year older than me, and it's just like, holy shit, I guess it like humanized it a little bit for me, like actually like meeting one of these people where it's like they really regret doing it, and just seeing like how badly it screwed them up, and that they're really trying to just get better, and I think he had been sober for a while. He had a lot of regrets, he was really like insecure with like his teeth, and like I get that, I get that, like he's like saving up to kind of get those fixed, and that wasn't going to be like easy for him, but it was a goal he had. I do remember like he used to have like some pain in his teeth, and he didn't really like have the money for it. So he'd end up like just buying like vodka, like really pure vodka, I guess. And then like just drinking that antibacteria stuff, like vodka's just good for that. Or you know what I mean? Like really pure alcohol. So you would just like do that. But, I think Montana Meth is like good, we just kind of get flash in the pans for a lot of these characters. Like Rihanna, she's 21. She's off meth now, but she used to, prostitute herself for meth, and like her boyfriends would pimp her out and stuff like that. And it's just like really sad, and it's just like for a lot of this, I just feel like a lot of empathy for these people. Not so much for like guys like Weasel, who has been like on meth for a long time. Like apparently started when he was like a young teenager, and like I'm not saying that's like not fucked up. I'm not saying that that's going to be easy to like kick, but he talks about like breaking into people's houses and like fucking attacking people to feed his addiction, so my sympathy has limits, right? Because you're hurting just innocent bystanders. And we get to just jump around a lot in this documentary. It's only an hour long, but like we get to see some of the parents. We get to see Graham's parents. And his mom's going to like do everything she can, so she doesn't lose her boy. We get to see law enforcement. There's Dustin, who's 26 years old. And I guess this is something that can happen with some addicts where like he's just like twitching a lot, like he can't really control it. It's just kind of like this spasm. Really fucked up. I don't know if that just goes on for the rest of your life. I don't know if like that happens to a lot of addicts, or just like it could just happen to some of them. You know what I mean? But it's just like, holy shit.
It gave me like a lisp kind of thing, sort of. It's like it won't come out as clear as it should. I don't know, it's chemicals or something did it. It's changed my whole body. It ruins you for good. Think the talking thing, it comes like because of your jaw, it does something to your jaw. It messed me up. Like it's gonna be long-term effects. It probably won't go away, some of them.
You're kind of hoping that everyone in this documentary like gets better, right? Like Graham, you hope that he's gonna get sober. You're hoping that Crystal gets sober, and sticks to it. Like Crystal's nice. Like I'm not trying. Not trying to simp boys, but like Crystal's cute, that's a cute woman, and she talks about having a nice truck. She's a country girl. She's from Montana, and she's against the gay pedophiles. Boys, I think I can save her. I think she's the one. Honestly, country girl. She's against the gay pedophiles. I think we'll get along just fine.
I never did anything sexual for drugs, but I watched other girls do it all the time. They would, or guys mostly, because one of the biggest connections around here just happens to be a gay pedophile. So if you're a young boy and you want to get high, go over to his house. I don't know, maybe he'll just sit there and he'll jack off in front of you and he'll give you a ball for it.
Can I say this without coming across as a douchebag? That Crystal kind of has like an unfortunate name. For her to then start doing crystal meth. I'm not trying to be that guy, but I thought someone had to point it out. So there it is. Not too much to say about Montana Meth. I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting to see these people and their lives. And I think stuff like this is like more effective as kind of like a don't do drugs than necessarily just like reading like a textbook about like what drugs will do to you. This is like you're a fly on the wall like kind of camera, and you get to see these people, and it's like that can be you, that can easily be you, because it's not like any of these people are like, they don't seem like super like horrific bad people. It just seems like they're at a bad position in their lives. They want to take something to make themselves feel better, and then they do something like meth or whatever, and then it completely overtakes their lives, and it's incredibly hard to quit or drop it. So, I don't think these people are like monsters or anything. Instead of like cutting like budgets for like drug stuff, I don't know what like the best way to handle this stuff is, and this isn't what this video is about. Like, here's how things should be done. But I'm really not okay if like people like okaying addicts, or just like, if people want to do drugs, let them do drugs. And I'm like, no, some of these kids are like really fucking young when they get addicted, and, you know, we shouldn't just let them be fucking addicts for the rest of their lives, you know, and just like, oh, your life's over. You only live to do drugs now. That's it. Everything else is nothing in comparison.
That's all you can think about. You don't have any other priorities in life. If you're doing this stuff, you don't have aspirations to be anything else but a user. That's all you end up to be, because that's exactly what it does. It just makes you want to use more and more and more.
So, Meth Storm, also on YouTube. It's about an hour and 30 minutes. We cover basically just one family, and this one family is Veronica. She's the mother. We have Teddy, the son, and he has some daughters. We have little Daniel, who's another son, and we have Maggie, who's a sister, and I think there's another sister, but I'm not sure. I couldn't really identify her. And then we also follow some DEA guys, and specifically there's a agent called Johnny, who's also the mayor of a small town. So we're in Arkansas. We start off with like this police chase, you know, it's pretty tense, and the DEA has started Operation Ice Storm. Following that, we have Veronica being there to bail out her son Daniel, and then the moment Daniel gets out of jail, the moment he's back with his family, he is back to shooting up. You know, it's the second he gets out of jail. And I think that's probably a big problem with these addicts, where when they do get out of jail, they go back to their friends and family naturally. And their friends and family are also addicts. So, of course, it's going to be right there in their face, and they're probably just going to immediately like fail again. Even if they're like, I would like to stay sober, I don't really have anywhere else to go, you know, and these are my people. It seems really challenging. But Veronica talks about being 26 when she started meth, and her son's Teddy starting at age 14, you know, freshman in high school. And Daniel starting when he's like 15 or 16. And you're like, God damn, you know, just God damn, man. This is some really fucked up shit.
Teddy started on it. I think he might have been 14 years old. And Daniel, 15, 16. But, I mean, that's how it goes around here, though.
Teddy gets locked up a few times in the documentary. Daniel seems like really fucked up, like not just like kind of stupid, but just like really like fucking paranoid and like kind of a scary dude. There's one scene where he has this, you know, nasty looking knife, and he's just going out in these bushes because he's like paranoid, and he thinks that someone's out there like spying on them. And it's just like, imagine you're just like walking around the woods around there, and you got a guy like Daniel, you know, that's probably gonna like stab you 50 fucking times because he doesn't know like who you are or what you're doing. I did like, you know, it's kind of like a little Jackass moment, but you know, I won't lie, I did enjoy Daniel riding the wagon down like the little hill. I did enjoy it. You know, I probably shouldn't have enjoyed it because it's an addict and he's being a little crazy, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. Johnny, the DEA agent, you know, he just seems not defeated, but he talks a lot about having to arrest like friends of his, you know, and then the people that they arrested years ago, they've arrested those people's kids, and they've arrested those people's grandkids, you know, and it's just generational. And, you know, no matter what they're kind of doing, they can't really seem to get ahead, and their budget is constantly being slashed. And it seems like an extremely uphill battle, and this is going to be like incredibly challenging to kind of break free of it. We get some stuff with Teddy, like he's out again. You know, this is the second time he's gotten out of jail, and he's trying to be a dad, right? He's trying to be a dad. The shitty thing is, like, I assume it's his ex-wife. Maybe it's his current wife, but, you know, this wife doesn't live with, like, Veronica and that part of the family. They seem, like, nice enough. You know, they have a decent house. He's got 2 little girls. And he talks about, like, how he missed his daughter's birthday and, like, he really regrets it. But immediately in that same scene, we also have him, you know, his daughter has, like, a basketball game coming up. And he's like, oh, baby, I didn't want to stay for that long. And it's just like, you know, a lot of this, is it just like his quote-unquote, like, jailhouse religion where he's not actually interested in working to be better and to do more for his family and be there for his daughters? Is it just kind of face value and he's not going to put too much effort in? You know, I'm not sure.
I do have a basketball thing.
Oh, you got a basketball game?
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know if I can stay up here that long, but...
And we got Veronica, and there's another girl. She's young, you know. She's I don't know if she's a teenager. I don't know if she's like another daughter by Veronica or she's somehow related to the family. I don't think she gets named in the documentary, but it's Veronica and this younger woman, and they're cleaning up the house because Teddy's coming back. Teddy's out of jail, so we gotta clean this place up. And it's the nastiest fucking thing you've ever seen, where there's just dog shit on the floor, and it's been there for a long time, and no one has cleaned it up. You know, and I can't even imagine what it fucking smells like in there. But then instead of cleaning it up, they just like cover it up with clothes that are on the ground, and they just like push it in the corner. And it oh my God, it's like the nastiest thing I've ever fucking seen.
I don't like stench.
Just kind of, I'm trying to get, almost stepped in shit.
And like Veronica, she doesn't really take responsibility like for her kids, and just like the effect that she's had on them, and that whenever they do, like whenever Teddy does get out of jail, he's immediately like shooting up with his mom, you know. And do you think that maybe that like a lot of this is like parents not like taking responsibility, and like if Veronica doesn't make a change, or if like the whole family doesn't start making a change, then nothing's really going to get better, you know? Because I think this woman might be a daughter or whoever, but it's another young woman, and Veronica's like shooting her up, right? And it's just like, Jesus fuck, man. Jesus fuck, you know, this is another life where she's just going to be like an addict for God knows how long, you know, maybe until it kills her. Who knows?
Here, just, here.
No, hold your arms there. Just want to see. Hold your arms tight.
What?
Oh, right here.
Why are you? Wait. No. Wait.
And there's the other daughter, Maggie, and Maggie is she's got a weight problem. Like I'm not gonna really dress that up. It's a pretty serious weight problem, but she doesn't do meth. That's something. And you know, she just kind of, she's there. She supports her family, you know, and it's just like, I don't know. Maybe she'd have a better life if she like cut them out and just went out on her own, but I'm not really sure. You know what I mean? I'm just not really sure. And by the end of it, it's just you know, Veronica at the end kind of, because Teddy's gone away again and probably for a longer sentence this time. And Veronica kind of talks about there being some sexual abuse when she was a kid, and that probably screwed her up. But, you know, we don't have like a ton of context here for like when this all kind of like started. You know, did it start with Veronica? Did it start earlier with her parents, or what? You know, this documentary, it's not trying to like necessarily like answer all of the questions for like how are we going to solve this, but it paints like a window of it, you know. So it you know, it lets you see like addicts like up close and in their lives, and just like, holy shit, never do drugs. Like, no matter how bad it fucking gets, you know, don't do drugs. But if you do have like people in your lives, you know, that like have kind of done this shit, or, you know, have been affected by it, you know, it's like have a reasonable amount of like sympathy and empathy, like to a certain point. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just like, oh baby, you know, it's okay, you got a disease, and it's just like, whatever you do, I don't care if you come in here with a bat and you beat the shit out of me and then rob me, because that's not really you. Not that, you know? Obviously not that. But I did like the little scene at the beginning when they shoot up and then they drive to church. And, you know, the preacher asks people to stand up if they've been affected by meth or they know someone affected by meth. And it's like almost everyone stands up. You know, almost everyone stands up, because that's how fucking prevalent it is in some areas in the country. Anyways, I thought this was like interesting, sad for sure, but an interesting little documentary. Odd one out. the odd one out. The one that maybe I shouldn't have paired it with these two, but I did, and whatever, here it is. This is Rich Hill. It came out in 2014, and it's a documentary following the lives of 3 teenage boys in Rich Hill, Missouri. All the families live in poverty. Rich Hill follows these 3 kids. There's Andrew, there's Apache, and then there's Harley. I think Andrew's like 14, Apache's like 13, and Harley's like 15. Okay, so young kids. And I'm just going to cover, because the documentary, it just focuses really on these 3 kids. I'm just going to cover like kid by kid by kid, you know, instead of like going back and forth between them. I'm just going to go like Andrew, Apache, Harley. All right. So Andrew is the only one of the 3 that has a dad living with their family. His dad's like not great. And you could argue maybe his dad's more of a detriment or anything, but Andrew seems like the most, I guess, social and like kind of optimistic of the 3. You know, he hasn't been beaten down so much as the other 3. But Andrew's daddy just kind of does like odd jobs around the town. Like he's a singer, and then sometimes he does kind of like yard work and stuff, and he doesn't really like take responsibility for his family, and like how he doesn't really like to hold a steady job or kind of like do too much strenuous labor. Andrew and his family, they end up moving around a lot just because, like, I guess they just get kicked out of places and evicted because they just don't pay the rent. You know, that's what I assume. And, you know, he talks about, like, waiting for God to, like, give him friends, you know, and then, like, maybe God's just kind of busy with everyone else, right? And he just has to wait his turn, and then good things are going to come. And it's just...
This is what goes through my mind. God has to be busy with everyone else.
It's just fucked, you know. I wouldn't describe this movie as like exploitation, you know, like we're exploiting the poor, but we are offering, but I think this does like offer just like a good, hey, we're going to these houses, we're just going to film these people, and, you know, you're going to see kind of how they live and kind of what they deal with and kind of some of their hopes and dreams, right? That's what we're going to see. And I think we do see that. I think it does like do a good job of that. But I really ended up hating like Andrew's dad. I think most people would, where, you know, he kind of talks about like, you know, he sings, you know, he used to be an inventor. He never invented anything though. It's just like, you kind of want to punch him, right? Where he talks about like wanting to be like a prospector, right? Cause I hate money, man. I hate money, but yeah, I'll get some gold, get some diamonds. Go out to California or Australia, and you're like, how can you be this fucking delusional when you have a sick wife and you have 2 kids to provide for, and you haven't figured his shit out? And I don't think like he's ever gonna figure his shit out. You know, he'll never have to. He'll never have to, and he'll blame like the economy and like living in a rural area. And I get it. Like I could understand like struggling to find jobs in areas like that, but like, other people make it work down there, you know. Other people make it work in areas like that, you know. They don't live like they live.
And it all could have probably been fixed with $1,500, which makes it sad. And you just can't make that. I mean, you can't make that in a week or 2 or a month down there. It really slowed down.
He does not like to hold a steady job. He does not like to hold a steady career.
Only thing anybody wants is money. A lot of people are like that, and me, I don't care. I mean, I'm tired of money. I'm gonna go get gold, diamonds, whether it's Alaska or Australia or go to England. That's a solution. Can't find a job, go get some gold.
But by the end of the movie, they're living with some cousins of theirs who are also like really poor. And like you see Andrew and like one of his cousins, they're sitting in front of a wood burning stove in the house because the gas has been shut off. And you're like, I didn't think that was like a real thing. You know what I mean? It's like I think in this book, Winter's Bone by Daniel Woodrow, which is like kind of the Missouri, it's about the Missouri Ozarks, and it's like a crime drama book in there. But like they mentioned using like a wood burning stove, and like part of me was like, I don't know if I believe that, you know, like I know they're poor in this book, but I don't know if I could believe like people actually using like a wood burning stove in like modern times, to keep warm. I think, yeah, part of me was always like, wouldn't they always have enough money for like gas, But there you go, they're using a wood burning stove to keep warm, and you're like, holy shit. Holy shit. By the end of the movie, Andrew, that they've moved yet again, and Andrew's mom has ended up dying. We don't really know what was wrong with her, like medically, but something was like pretty wrong, and she's died, and they're now in just Colorado. And I'm not like super optimistic. I'm not like super optimistic for like any of these kids, but I think like if there's one of the three that's going to make it, it's probably going to be Andrew, right? It's probably going to be Andrew that makes it or can do better. So we got Apache. And one thing about Apache and Harley, which kind of like pissed me off, the parents in this movie, like, or documentary, really pissed me off, like overall, because they just refuse to take responsibility and like to act like parents. But both Apache and Harley smoke cigarettes, right? And they'll smoke cigarettes in front of like Apache smokes them in front of his mom, and Harley will smoke them in like front of his grandma and everyone else in the house. And none of them stop them. None of them give a shit, And it's just like, what, Apache's like 13, Harley's like 15, and they're already like both smoking cigarettes, and you're like, holy fuck, No, none of these people like take responsibility, because Apache's mom doesn't even like force him to take his medicine, because it's probable that Apache has some kind of like, I don't know if I'd say like ADHD or something, but he does seem like a pretty hyper kid. You kind of have to wonder if it's just because, he's trying to get attention, because he has like a really bad home life and he doesn't really have like friends in school. And maybe that's a part of it. Maybe that's why he acts out so much. That really angered me, just seeing these kids like smoking. And just like the mom's like refusing to help him with this kind of stuff. Apache, he's a pretty angry and isolated kid. He's the most similar to Harley. But we get to see that Apache, like, he has a pretty bad home life. We get to see like just these piles of like trash in Apache's yard, and it really reminded me. I used to be a UPS driver for a while, but like in some of like the worst areas, and some of the worst areas I would be in, you would just see like mounds of garbage in like people's yards, and like there would be kids playing in the yard, and all I could think about was, couldn't you bother to like clean up your yard a little bit so your kids wouldn't have to play in a yard with trash in it? Like, couldn't you care enough to take like 15-20 minutes and clear all this up for your children? But I don't think they really give a shit. I don't think they really care. I really didn't like Apache's mom. It seems like she has a little bit where she talks about her life, but I think she's like 17. She ran away from home. Married a guy, had a kid, and she never really got to have a life, and she's not really prepared to be a mother. And I don't know how many kids she has like now. Seems like quite a few, but I think she just works at like a Pizza Hut or something, right? And they just live in this really awful house, just doesn't take any responsibility for it.
17, moved out of my mom's house, started working, met Jeremy, and got married. I never had a life. I never had any dreams or hopes. It just went straight from being in Mama's house to being a mother. I didn't get any time in between, which I don't really regret it. I don't regret having my kid.
Probably one of the worst scenes in Rich Hill is like right after Apache and his family have gone to the laundromat and they're being told by their mother to clean the house, right? And Apache, he does a little work, but he doesn't really do his job. But like, you could argue that he can't really clean that much when the entire house is fucking trash, right? When it's just a horrible environment. And his mom's just screaming and going fucking ballistic. I did want to point out, like, and I'll circle it, but there's this, Apache goes into a room to go get some trash bags, right? And there's this thing like hanging in the middle of the doorway. And I didn't recognize it at first. But it's a fucking door. It's like a door that's ripped in half and it's just hanging there. And in terms of like just these people not really giving a shit about their kids or like how they live, because they're quote unquote cleaning the house, even though the entire house is filthy and disgusting and they don't actually clean it. But you have this like broken down, like nasty hanging door, and they're not going to fix that. They're not going to do anything with that. we have him like when he's in the cafeteria and he goes to sit down, and like the one other person that's also sitting there moves away from him, and he has to eat lunch all by himself. And then like also later, like during dodgeball, Apache is yet again, like he's trying to interact with the other kids, but the other kids, they're kind of avoiding him. They don't really want to interact with him. So you have all this rage, you have all this isolation, and you can't really take out these emotions on really anyone or anything. It just seems to be just kind of like building up within him. And by the end of it, Apache has been like in a fight at school. We don't really know what happened. He's been like now sentenced to like a detention center for like a few months, and that's kind of where we leave him, and I don't know. It's a sad situation. I don't know if like Apache's going to like pull it out, considering like the kind of home life that he has, right? Because he doesn't have a good home life, without like a good support network, and with him like really struggling in school. Like I think, we're looking at probably a pretty bad life going forward, if I'm being realistic. If I want to be an optimist for a little bit, it's just like hard. It's hard to like imagine like Apache kind of like pulling it out. Last kid is Harley, right? And Harley also smokes. His mom is in prison right now. And on this phone, his mom talks about having her 8 teeth pulled. And I wasn't sure, because we'll figure out why Harley's mom is in jail. But I wasn't sure if this was kind of related to meth, or her mom just never took care of her teeth and now they're falling out. So I wasn't sure if like meth was on the table for the mother as well. I'm not really sure. But Harley's a little like screwed up as well. Like he's also like a really angry kid, and he's like not really in school because like he just constantly calls to be taken home from school like all the time. And so he doesn't really have any friends his age or anyone to really interact with. We do see him hanging out with some guys on Halloween, so I guess he's not like completely isolated. Harley just kind of like opens up a bit, and I'll just like play that.
I got strong feelings about rape too. I don't like it. I'm against it. Because there's some things that have happened to me that I don't really talk about, but they've still happened. I mean, I ain't forgot about them. I basically try to forget about them, don't think about it, and then it don't come up too much in conversation.
So I couldn't like really look up, because I don't know like their last name, about like Harley's mom and why exactly she went away. Like if it was just like attempted murder, learn more about that case and like just get some more context for it, because it's just kind of like dropped into our lap. It's kind of like this bomb they just dropped. Earlier, we got to see Harley with a birthday cake. It's like, I think it was like happy 15th birthday Harley, right? So he has this cake, but he's eating it all by himself, alone in this house, because he doesn't have anyone else around him. And now we've come like a full year, and he's at school, and he's just going around asking people if they have anything to say to him, because he's really not good at like interacting with people, and he doesn't really know like how to do it. You know what I mean? Because it's his birthday, and he'd like for people to like care or give a shit, but no one really knows him.
Today's awesome. Come on, what's today? Nothing you can think of? Nothing? Got anything to say to me? Nothing at all.
And, after he gets called after he goes to the principal's office, we figure out that like he's called in sick like every single day, basically, or gone home like every single day. And his grandma is definitely like somewhat responsible for putting up with this and just taking him home whenever he asks to be taken home, right? Because whenever like things just kind of don't go his way, he kind of like just gets angry, and it seems like his grandmother just like caves in, right? And by the end of it for Harley, like he is struggling to finish school. I don't know if he will finish school, because I think he's already repeated 1 grade, and it's not like super hopeful for him. We don't really have context for this movie, really about like any of the kids too much, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because there's definitely things I would like to have context for and to learn more about, so I can understand it better. I think this follows their flawed lives in rural America, and we get to see like rural poverty. I guess I would call this movie like exploration, not necessarily exploitation. I don't think I would necessarily call it that. I don't think this is like quote unquote like poverty porn. You know what I mean? We're just following these people, we're talking to them, and we're understanding like how they live. We're not trying to say if it's like good or bad or whatever. I will say like the parents overall really angered me, because I do feel like a ton of sympathy and empathy for these kids, but it's really like the fucking parents that just drove me up the wall, where it's Andrew's dad refusing to hold down a steady job, refusing to fucking grow up and take care of his children and his wife. He's just gonna just fuck around the rest of his life, and I don't think he's ever gonna like be better. Yeah, just ever get it together. He's never really gonna do that, Apache's mom, who's had way too many children, she's raising them all alone. I don't know how many kids exactly, like maybe 5 or 6. Just like it's a shit ton of kids in a really small, like disgusting house. It's just whatever, she never like stopped and thought that, hey, maybe I should wait to have more kids because I don't really have it together right now. And she's just not responsible. She refuses to force Apache to take his medication if he does need medication to help him like function better, and she refuses to make him take it. She also doesn't give a shit that he's smoking cigarettes. Doesn't care. Doesn't stop him. She also seems like someone that's had like a rough life, but at some point, when are you going to take responsibility, right? When are you going to take responsibility for it? It just seems like the cycle's going to keep going. Like, I just like that scene with like Apache's mom like going apeshit in the house because it's not clean. And I keep thinking about like all the daughters she has, and like when they turn 17, are they just going to run off and get pregnant and just get the fuck out of this house, and then they're just going to repeat the cycle? Is that just what's going to happen? And Harley as well, where the grandma just lets him smoke. That's one thing. And then just every time he like cries about school, that she will run over to the school and pick him up and take him out of there. So he never has to confront anything. He never has to do anything. And obviously he's had a tough life. Obviously bad things have, obviously really horrific shit has happened to him. You can't just like, what kind of opportunities is this fucking kid going to have when, he can't even get a fucking GED? What's he going to do? I don't know. I don't know what anyone's plan is, really. And it's sad, I don't think it's the federal government giving more money to these people. I don't think that's the solution. Just kind of feel like you're just off to the side, like hoping that, hey, I hope you stop like ruining your fucking life and you take responsibility so that your children can have decent lives. And I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if that's really going to happen with these people. I think that's unlikely. So you're just kind of banking on and just hoping that some of these kids are going to make like better decisions down the line, right? You're just like really hoping that they're going to somehow break this cycle. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. If you look it up, they do have like a little follow-up about the kids on like a Rich Hill website, where things have not gone well for a lot of them, kind of obviously. I still think it's like an interesting documentary. I don't think it's like necessarily answering any of these questions that's raising, It's letting you see it, you get to kind of see it up close and without like kind of a filter, I guess you could argue that the camera just being there is a filter, and we're not like, but I think it's like the closest thing we can get to like a more like realistic like view of what's going on, right? I'll probably have some more stuff out later. I do want to check out Country Boys by Donald Sutherland. I think that should be interesting. Maybe it should have been paired up with Rich Hill. Maybe I did screw up with that. I think these are 3 decent documentaries. It really just seems like it's the fucking parents not taking responsibility. They just refuse to help themselves and their kids, and it's really fucking sad. Anyways, that's going to be it from me. I have other reviews on the channel. It's mostly like TV shows, movies. There's some shit posting and such. Thanks for watching. Dr. Infinity out.